Good job getting this far in the course. You should be really proud of yourself because we have learned a lot so far. And now we are going to start styling our coffee store page. Now, the page that we want to build is this page right here. Now, as you shrink your site down to a mobile screen, it also is responsive. And if you go all the way back up to desktop, it works as well. So let's go ahead and add the styling necessary for this page. But let's do what we have done before. That is, add the class names to this page, because even though we added all the core elements on the page, that is the name, the address, neighborhood, and so on, right? We still haven't added any class names so we can attach styling to it. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's add a CSS module file for this specific coffee store page so we can start hooking all our style class names up. So going back to styles, let's create a new file called coffeestore.module.css. And now that we have done that, let's go back to our page and import it. We can say import styles from going one directory back and another directory and style/coffeestores.module.css. Alright, now let's start using these styles in our page. Now we can just pretty much remove this console log because we don't need it right now. And let's start adding class names. So in this case, let's add a class name for layout because this would be a layout of the page. And we will be using grids again, that is CSS grid, to style the specific page. So let's take a look at that in the browser. Now for this specific page, if we open up our browser DevTools and inspect the element, you will see again that there is a border around these two columns. So this is column 1 and this is column 2. And this specific border essentially allows us to view a grid, and as we scale up and down, this grid is going to turn into a single column. Now, let's go ahead and add some styling class names again. So if you notice in our page, on the left hand side, we are displaying back to home link, the name of the coffee shop and the image. Whereas in column 2, on the right hand side, we are adding the address and the rating. But if there is a neighborhood, we would also show up right underneath the address itself. So let's go ahead and create these two columns. For a column 1, we can just say div class name styles.col1, and let's add the following things. Now we can move this address underneath because that would be column 2, and we can say styles.col2 right here and wrap it up all in a div. Now back to home link and name is in one column, whereas in the second column is the address and the neighborhood. Now we still don't have image in column 1, so let's go ahead and add that. Let's add the image from next image, and we can add a source here that is basically image URL, so we can just destructure it just like that. Let's make sure we add the image URL, and then let's add the width, which will be 600, the height, which would be 360. And lastly, let's add a class name as well, which would be styles.storeImage, because this is a coffee store image, right? And let's also add a alt tag, which will tell our bots that, hey, this specific image is actually a coffee store. we can just say name right here because we have already destructured name over here. And let's close it. And let's close this one as well. All right, now that we have an image, let's go and check it out in the browser. Whoops, I forgot to import, so let's do that first. So we can say next image. All right, now let's check it out in the browser. Going back, it says that the styling import is incorrect, so let's fix that. And oh, it's coffee store, not stores. Now that we have fixed that, let's see. And it's refreshing. And there you go. It's still loading. And our image is right here as well. All right, our page is coming together. Now let's go ahead and add call to class name. So we can say call to class name right here. But we also want to add a few more things. Over here, we can just wrap this entire container in a class name called container. So we can just say container, just like that. And let's wrap call1 and call2 inside that container. Now in call1, let's also give a link, a class name as well. But since we are going to be adding spacing around it, let's add it in a div. And we can say back to home link. And let's wrap it up and close it right here. All right, now let's also add a div class name for the name as well. And we can say name wrapper because this is essentially going to add that spacing. And in the paragraph tag, we can say class name is styles.name. All right, now let's change this p tag to an h1 because this is a heading, which is the name of the coffee store. And this is the most important part of the page, the name. Now the class names are coming together for call1. Now let's add the class names for call2.